Welcome back to Trust in God, where we dive deep into the powerful truths of God's Word to strengthen your faith and inspire you to trust Him in every circumstance. Today, we're exploring Shalom 3, a heart-stirring prayer of trust from King David as he faces betrayal, fear, and overwhelming opposition. In the midst of it all, David finds rest in the knowledge that God is his shield, his sustainer, and his deliverer. If you're facing challenges or uncertain moments, this shalom is for you. Lean in, open your heart, and let David's testimony lead you into a deeper trust in the faithfulness of God. If this message resonates with you, please like, comment, and subscribe to join our journey through the shaloms. We're breaking them down one by one, and you won't want to miss the powerful insights ahead. Lord, how many are my foes? How many rise up against me? David begins this shalom in the midst of deep turmoil. His own son, Absalom, has betrayed him, leading a rebellion that forces David to flee for his life. David's world has crumbled around him, his closest allies have turned against him, and the weight of personal betrayal is heavy on his heart. In the opening verses, David doesn't hold back his pain. He openly acknowledges how many enemies surround him, how many are out to see his downfall. This isn't a mere military threat, this is deeply personal. The ones who once called him king are now the ones calling for his death. His own flesh and blood, Absalom, is leading the charge against him. The emotional and physical weight of being abandoned by those he trusted, the ones who should have supported him, is overwhelming. This feeling of abandonment and being utterly surrounded by foes is something we can relate to, whether it's in our relationships, career, or faith. In those moments when we feel outnumbered, when it seems like everyone is against us, we too can cry out like David, "How many are my foes, Lord?" Yet, even in the pain, David does not bottle up his distress. He turns to God. In your life, when it feels like the walls are closing in, the first step is honestly acknowledging your pain to God. Pour it out. Lay it at His feet. God can handle your honesty. But you, Lord, are a shield around me, my glory, the one who lifts my head high. In this verse, David shifts his focus from his enemies to the faithfulness of God. Despite the overwhelming number of adversaries, he recognizes that God is his shield. David acknowledges that God is his glory, the one who gives him honor, strength, and identity, not his title as king, nor his military victories, but God alone. When everything else seems to be crumbling, David looks up and sees God's presence surrounding him. God is not distant, He is a shield around him. Imagine that imagery, a shield that protects, defends, and guards against the attacks of the enemy. David is not standing alone in his battle. God is standing with him, protecting him from all sides. You may not see your enemies, your doubts, or your fears disappear immediately, but like David, you can acknowledge that God surrounds you. He is not just a distant observer, He is actively protecting you, standing between you and harm. David also speaks of God as the one who lifts his head high. This is a picture of restoration and honor. The act of lifting someone's head is a gesture of comfort and encouragement. In times of defeat and despair, God lifts us from our shame and our sorrow. He takes us from our downcast state and reminds us of our dignity in Him. When the world tries to break you down, God is the one who holds your head high. I call out to the Lord, and He answers me from His holy mountain. David's reaction to the overwhelming situation is not panic or self-sufficiency, it is calling out to God. When faced with enemies on every side, David chooses prayer. His cry is not one of despair, but of trust. He knows God will answer him from His holy mountain, meaning God will respond from His place of divine authority. There is peace in knowing that God will answer when we call. No matter how dark the moment seems, no matter how impossible the situation feels, God listens. David is not pleading with an indifferent or distant God. He is calling on a God who is near, a God who has power over all things. In the midst of turmoil, we too can find peace in calling out to God. There is no distance between us and Him. The holy mountain represents God's supreme authority, but it also reminds us that He is fully present and active in our lives. When you call, God answers. Rest in that. When life feels out of control, take a moment to close your eyes, breathe deeply, and know that you can call on the God of the universe who hears your cries. You are never alone. I lie down and sleep. I wake again, because the Lord sustains me. Here, David shares a powerful testimony of trust. In the midst of his fear, his life being threatened, and his world turned upside down, David is able to sleep. Not only does he sleep, but he wakes again because the Lord sustains him. This verse speaks to the deep peace that comes from trusting God completely. It is one thing to trust God when everything is calm, but it's another to trust Him when your enemies surround you. David had every reason to fear, every reason to lose sleep over the danger he faced. But instead, he rests in the sustaining power of God. This peace does not come from the absence of trouble, but from the presence of God. David's peace came because he knew that God was watching over him, sustaining him through every trial, holding him through every night. In your struggles, you may feel the weight of the world pressing down on you, but you can rest knowing God is with you, sustaining you. Arise, Lord. Deliver me, my God. Strike all my enemies on the jaw, break the teeth of the wicked. David's prayer is now one of boldness. He calls on God to rise up and deliver him, not because of David's own strength, but because of God's authority. The imagery of striking enemies on the jaw and breaking the teeth of the wicked is a symbol of complete victory. David is asking God to render his enemies powerless. The teeth represent the strength of the enemy. To break them is to deprive them of their ability to harm. There is a powerful confidence in this prayer. David is no longer cowering in fear. He is standing firm in his trust that God will fight for him. This is the faith we need, to know that the battle is not ours but the Lord's. When the enemy comes against you, when life feels like it's out of control, you can stand confidently, knowing that God will defend you and bring you the victory. From the Lord comes deliverance. May your blessing be on your people. David ends this shalom with a declaration of faith. He declares that deliverance comes from the Lord. There is no victory apart from God. David's focus is not on his enemies, his troubles, or even his own efforts. His focus is solely on the deliverance of God. Only God can save. Only God can restore. David ends with a blessing for the people of God, recognizing that the victory and deliverance that God gives is not just for him but for all who trust in him. When God delivers you, your testimony can be a blessing to others, drawing them to faith and hope. Thank you for being a part of today's study of Shalom 3. Raising hands. If this message touched your heart, like this video, and comment below, how has God been your shield and sustainer in your battles? Don't miss our breakdown of Shalom 1 and Shalom 2, both filled with encouragement and hope for those learning to trust God in every season. And be sure to come back for Shalom 4, where we continue learning to lean on God's peace and protection in our trials. Subscribe to Trust in God so you don't miss a single shalom. And remember, no matter the storm, God is your shield. You can always trust in His unshakable faithfulness. Stay rooted in His word, and we'll see you next time at Trust in God.